Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Rhaenyra from season 2. We're talking about the beach episode. I want to say episode 7, when she confronts Adam of Hull for riding Sea Smoke. So we've already talked about how I personally research for a cosplay and how I store all of that information for later and for your use, of course. And so now we're going to get into what is apparently your favorite part, which is the patterning. I am more than likely going to do something similar to how I did the last Rhaenyra dress. In fact, I'm actually going to use most of those pattern pieces to reference for this costume. I have to do so much cleanup first because I've been doing a lot of props. And so I have a lot of paint and unnecessary stuff out. So it's gonna be a big cleanup day. I also actually just got the rest of my slopers from my parents' house. They went there after I graduated from school during COVID, and then some of them made their way out here. Obviously, some of them did not. So I have been relying on half of my pattern slopers, and it has been a bit of a struggle, but now I have all of them. I have to find my patterns. They're somewhere, more than likely over there or under here. We're gonna figure it out. I need to clean out underneath my table, but I know it's just infested with spiders. Clean up and get going. That's the plan. Okay, I'm going back to old school here. So I have my Rhaenyra pattern, other than the sleeve, actually, now that I look at it. I don't know where the sleeve is. That's a little silly goofy. You know, we'll figure that out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my reference photo. So this is something that I have already done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my flat. Okay, let me give you a little zoom in. So this is our base, but now I need to add in the shoulder part. You see what I'm putting down here? And it connects probably like there. So we're probably gonna have something like this on this bottom piece. So here's what our pattern pieces need to look like. So this is gonna be our center front piece, and then our side piece. Sorry, I've done this kind of backwards. Okay, I can put it here. Our side piece is gonna look something. Do you feel me? Does that make sense? This is our goal for today. I would love to get this done, because once that is done, I can make the patterns for the embroidery, and we can really get chugging along on the embroidery while I'm on vacation for the next month straight. That's the plan. And I'm going to base the bodice off of these pieces, and just build it from there, because I know that this fits me very nicely. So I got this big old box of newsprint from work. This is like the stuff that they would use to pack all of the fragile stuff in. We're gonna be using it for our patterns. Woo! So I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna find my pattern weights. This is gonna be very interesting. I wanna leave enough space to have like this much of it flipped. So I'm gonna draw a straight line But I'm not gonna do it right on the edge because we're not gonna have a center front seam. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and cool. Oh, don't forget to transfer your notches. Now, do that same thing, just with a pencil. Okay, hopefully you can see all of this. I went ahead and I also grabbed my slopers. I just set my light on top of my slopers, of course I did. I got my slopers so that we can continue this line all the way down. Well, apparently I could have just done that the whole time. Whatever. We're going to do now is I want to line up this pattern piece. Like that. Cool, cool, cool. Nice, nice, nice. And then I want to trace the armhole. Here's what we're gonna do. We're also gonna look at a reference photo. I wanna say this is the waistline right here, and that is about where this connects. So I wanna take the neck out slightly more, probably an inch from, ooh, a little more than an inch and an eighth down the shoulder line from the actual neckline. And then we're gonna have this fantastic line. Okay, wait. Let me just, cool, love that. Actually kind of go out further, honestly. And now we're gonna do the shoulders. Honestly, I feel like I want to go out further. I'm gonna go out a total of, okay, that is 2 inches out because her regular shoulder like that, so it is that skinny, honestly. So we basically want to follow this line. We know that we're diverging right here, which is going to be about right here. There-ish. So we're gonna follow this same line and we want to go out. I'm gonna mark 2.5 inches, but then I'm also going to, so this is the point that I'm keeping on the shoulder. I'm going to put my pencil there, line my ruler up, and then I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna say 3/4 of an inch. I'm gonna line up the 3/4 line with that mark that I have just drawn. And I'm going to draw us a new shoulder seam. And so now I want to go like that, draw us a new line. And then we're gonna make sure that we keep that as a notch there. Like that. Okay, so we've got the top area figured out. Now we can move on to the skirt. Because we don't have a waist seam on this dress, we are just going to take the bottom of our sloper and put it on. I guess I kind of lied when I said I would be using my other pattern, but the good news is this doesn't have to be form-fitting. In fact, it needs to be like a little bit spread. So this is our waistline here. And I'm going to take my ruler and continue our straight line down. But what I'm going to do now is take my ruler. I'm going to do the same thing I just did. I'm going to put my pencil here at the corner of the waistline and the princess seam. I'm gonna line my ruler up with it, and we're gonna take, I'm gonna maybe add, let's add like 3/16 to that hip dart area here. And that should give us just like that. And so that is our new seam. And now what we can do is, now to find the length of our skirt, I am going to look at our reference photo. So the wind is blowing a lot, but you can see it goes to mid-calf. Let's see with the added piece if I am right. Yep, so that is the skirt. It's like 5 inches above her ankles probably. I'm gonna take a tape measure if I can find one. Basically what I'm going to do is, we have our exact waist point. So I'm going to take this end and I'm going to press it into my waist, my own waist, and then lower it to the ground. I showed how to do this on one of my Harley videos. I think the Harley Quinn patterning video. I'm pushing the tape measure into my waist, and then I'm going to hold it on my hip. I'm putting my hand holding the tape measure to my thigh so that I can bend down and it will stay in the right spot. And then we're gonna get our measurement along my thigh. Let's go for about that. So I'm gonna measure down the center front first. Let's continue our line down. Okay. Ta-da. And then actually we're gonna do a fold up hem, so we're gonna add 1.5 inches, just like that. And then we're gonna continue this line down. We're gonna square it here. Nice. Okay, and then I'm going to add the rest of my seam allowance along here, and then we're actually gonna fold it down this middle line, our center front line, so that we can get this exact line copied to the other side, since it is one piece like this. This is also a reminder, I add 1/2 inch seam allowance on all of the seams that are not your neckline seam. So remember that I add 1/4 inch around the neckline, because that's how much you want to add for a collar. And then also this seam on this side will also be 1/4 inch, because we're just sewing the lining onto it, so we want minimal bulk. Okay, starting on the side piece now, we're gonna do something very similar, but I'm not gonna kid myself. We're just gonna start out with my side seam slopers. If you are altering a pattern, I would recommend getting one that is just a simple fitted princess seam pattern, and you can do the exact same thing as this. Just you want to make sure you remove all of your seam allowance, and it'll tell you what your seam allowance is on each pattern that you buy. So this time I'm working on the side front piece, and remember how I said we needed basically the entire armhole for this pattern piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my slopers like this, because those should walk exactly, and I am just going to make sure that this lines up in a spot that we are going to have the entire armhole and basically the entire shoulder access to. So now I'm going to trace these, and then I'm going to trace this basically. Now I have just grabbed my center front and this. I'm gonna match up this corner. Okay, so now I have transferred over our neckline, basically. And what I'm actually going to do is, because we know that it is this notch here, where we are diverging from this princess seam, I am actually just gonna go, I think that this line will actually be better. Are you getting what I'm putting down? Okay, and then we have a couple more alterations to make to the pattern. I'm actually gonna ignore how I lifted up that top sleeve, and I'm gonna keep this the same. However, remember how we had some fitting issues with the other one? So I'm actually gonna drop down our side armhole, because that's where it was too tight last time. So your side seam is almost always a straight line, or it always is. So I'm actually going to go out. Let me just go. Okay, so from this point, I'm going to add 1/4 of an inch, and I will do this exact same thing on the back side seam. And then I'm going to drop it, let's say we're gonna drop it 3/8 of an inch. So this is our new armhole point. I'm just going to draw a new line there. And we are going to walk this just like that. So what we want to do on this one actually is this notch here is our lower hip notch. And I'm going to use this as the reference point of where the pattern splits on the side seam. So I'm actually going to take this same thing that we did earlier, but you can see this has a curve to it. I'm just going to line this up with the thickest part of that curve. Go straight down from there, and then straight out from our center line. Boop. I am going to go like that, and then I'm actually going to walk this down slightly and just put more of a curve into this, because it's not quite like an A-line skirt. So like we want a little bit of movement, but we don't need like a crazy amount. You feel me? And then I actually didn't pull from the waist right here. I pulled from this hip notch. Ta-da! Okie dokie. Now I am going to actually add seam allowance to the waist and then cut off our excess paper and then put it down there. Do the exact same thing, but I'm gonna walk this seam or princess seam with the front to find where our hem is going to be. Okay, so now I have the side front and the center front finished. You know, they're gonna be like a whole thing when they're being sewn together. So now everything that I did here, except for like this new neckline, kind of, you know, I'm going to repeat on the side, back, and center back. I'm gonna do exactly the same thing that I did with this and with this. Literally exactly the same thing. And then we will come back and we will touch base. One little note for our center back piece is that I did add a vent on the back at the same height that the side slits are. So I basically just added 1.25 inches on, and then a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the side, and then I rounded it. So then you sew to this point, and then you attach them, and then you fold over the one side, and it's like a whole sewing thing. So my regular patterns are, or I guess my dress patterns are complete. Now I need to pattern the collar and the sleeve. The sleeve is going to be really easy because now I have my generic tapered sleeve, my basic tapered sleeve that fits these. All I have to do is take it out, that little tiny bit that I did on the side seams. I'm not going to take it, I should maybe also take it down a tiny bit. Give myself just a little bit more armpit room. And then we will touch back when we're ready to do the collar. Yippee! for the collar, we are doing a basic roll collar. So I've measured both of the necklines of my pattern, and the back is 6. So we're going to go like this. And then the front is 19 3/8. So I'm gonna mark 1 3/8 because my ruler is 18 inches long. And then, oh my god, I can't. And then I'm going to put the end of my 18 inches there. Okay, so this is our shoulder. This is our center front. So I'm actually gonna take this up ever so slightly. So now I need to figure out how wide I want to make the collar. It's pretty chunky on the back, not gonna lie. I'd honestly say that is probably like 4 inches on the shoulder here. Yeah, I'm gonna do 4 inches there. And then it kind of tapers down into nothingness. So the back, I want to be like slightly taller than that, I think. We're getting really free-formy with this. Yippee! All of the pattern pieces have been drafted. Woo! This one was relatively easy. I literally, when I was drawing out the flats, I was like, oh no, but it wasn't that bad. So now you know what's happening. We're gonna do a little fitting. I've got my muslin scraps, and I'm only gonna do the bodice. I'm not gonna fit the whole thing. I don't see the point. I know what the skirt's gonna look like. It'll be fine. It'll be great, even. So yes, that is the plan. And then we will check back in when I have it on the dress form. Oh, Clove, gots to come down. Sorry, babes. Okay, I have the fitting and it is on the dress form. I think it looks good. Obviously, the fabric is going to be thicker and it's going to be more structured when it's actually done, but it is looking good. The only thing I will say is I did actually make the collar too thick, I do believe. So you can see I kind of was already messing with it on this side. Let me just grab some pins, but I think I'm just gonna cut it down to like here. And then follow that like this. Now I like this section, so I'm gonna try to kind of just crease this and then back. I was worried about the back and not adding any extra material, but I think it's actually fine. Okay, yeah. I think that'll be much better because then we still have like the other separate piece that goes in there. And then these, yeah, I like those. Okay, cool. So this is our pattern done. This is it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe if you liked it, and I will see you on the next one, which will be this more than likely. Yeah, now it's time to start glitzing, I guess. Glitz and glam. Here we go.